Is Tourette's a social disability? No. Hey guys, my name is Jaleesa and I'm back for another video, and there is a lot of nuance to that answer and to that question that I want to unpack today. A lot of people in the Tourette's community emphasize the social impact cats that a condition like Tourette's can have, and some people do experience this. For example, if you're around friends and coffee and you spill said coffee all over your friends, oops. Or you have tics that injure people or insult them directly, that could affect the way that you socially interact with such friends. Disclaimer, most people with Tourette's do not have tics like this, so if you meet someone with Tourette's, you don't have to worry about them like punching you in the face or something unless they themselves warn you about it. Also, assuming someone is dangerous because of their diagnosis makes you a jerk, so don't. However, I think the social effect that Tourette's might have is largely overstated, because of the way we as society view disability. As a society, we have largely relied on the medical model of disability to understand disability. Basically, this just means that whatever problems you face that are related to your disability are specifically because of that disability. In this model, if a person who can't walk and is in a wheelchair can't make it up a flight of stairs to their job interview, the problem here is that they can't walk. But a lot of disabled activists have been using the social model of disability, which basically means that the problems that you face related to your disability are because of the environment. In this model, we would say that the stairs are the real obstacle when someone in a wheelchair can't make it to their job interview on the second floor, and providing things such as an elevator or ramp or simply having the interview on the first floor would all solve this problem. This idea is probably the more unusual model of disability to most people, so I like to conceptualize it this way. Imagine a world in which everyone can fly, and the world is built for flying people, but you can't fly, so you can't make it to that job interview that takes place practically in the clouds because no one else in your world needs things like stairs or lifts or ladders. In the same way, the world we live in today was not built for disabled people in mind. I have my own thoughts about both of these models, but all you need to know right now is that I use them both in different situations and contexts. And I'm explaining all of this to you because I think personally that calling Tourette's a social disability relies way too much on the medical model. When we say this, we're basically saying that it's my Tourette's that is affecting my social life and causing me to be a social outcast in society. Here's the kicker though, when people are curious and understanding and treat me like a person, somehow I make friends, and my Tourette's doesn't make those friendships worse. So, if in some situations my Tourette's seems to affect my social life, and in other situations it doesn't, maybe my Tourette's cats is not the most important variable in this situation. Maybe it's just people being ableist jerks. In other words, this is where the social model of disability comes into play, because my Tourette's is not the disabling factor here. It's the people around me who happen to be ableist, which is a term that means prejudice or hatred towards disabled people. Good, and if you think that I'm just making up words for things that don't exist, you should spend the day with me in public. You'll probably notice the rude stares right away, but after time goes on, you'll probably notice other things, like people avoiding talking to me, or talking to you instead of me, people being surprised to find out that I am actually smart, people assuming that I can't drive, parents pulling their child away from me and then looking at me with disgust or fear, people laughing and pointing and just generally making rude comments or asking invasive questions, etc., etc., etc. I could go on. Trust me. Ableism is a thing. And this is why I despise the idea that my Tourette's is the reason for this behavior. My Tourette's might be a catalyst for making these attitudes apparent, but these attitudes exist regardless. Even if my Tourette's went away, ableist jerks would not. And curing my Tourette's doesn't make the problem go away. It just makes everyone a little bit more comfortable. That is, until Kat's the next person with Tourette's comes along. I used to think the way that ableists commonly reacted to me was understandable and sympathetic. I mean, I know it's rude to ask about people's medical history and stuff, but maybe this person who's asking if I've tried this drug or this miracle diet totally unprompted just cares for me a lot, and that makes their nosiness totally okay. I know it's rude to stare, and we're all taught that, but I mean, I guess I do look pretty weird. I mean, I know it's rude to ignore a person when they talk to you, but they probably think that I'm just doing this for attention. In all of these examples, I was behaving as if my Tourette's made this behavior understandable, while ignoring the many examples and experiences that I've had with people who don't behave this way when they see me tick. I kept doing this up to the point where my pastor came to my house and asked me not to come next Sunday. And I just nodded and agreed, because I thought my disruption warranted my discrimination. And I see the same thought patterns in other disabled people when they're discriminated against. We accept unusual, inappropriate, and unacceptable behavior because, quite frankly, we're used to it. It feels normal to us. And in my experience, and many other disabled people's experiences, when we point out this behavior in others, we're often made to feel as if we're the ones being unreasonable. I still have trouble convincing my family that the discrimination from my old church was as bad as it was. They see my former pastor's actions as definitely bad, yes, but also normal and sympathetic. And that's the problem that I have with the widespread notion that Tourette's is a social disability as a whole. It's not the worst thing to say, and you're not a horrible person if you've ever said or believed this. It usually goes unquestioned in our community, and I kind of understand why. It's a very easy mistake to look at the social isolation that people with Tourette's face as an inherent problem to having Tourette's, because it is so widespread. I'm not gonna hate you or freak out or think you're a terrible person if you say this, and some people actually do have tics that affect their social life in a much more direct way. However, when we apply this to everyone with Tourette's and say that ticking in front of people will inevitably cause social problems because you're ticking, that's indicative of a much larger problem. So I hope everyone learned a little bit today, and if you want to add something to this conversation, or if there's something that I've missed or you disagree with a point that I've made, please leave that in the comments. I'd love to know all of your guys' thoughts about this issue. But yeah, I think that's all I've got for you today. Well, actually, that's not true. I'm going to film a video right after this, so if you see me in the same shirt, I do get dressed. But yeah, I guess that's it for this video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more of my face. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!